Your Cage is excited, guys. He just told me right before I clicked that record button that he's excited for this episode because this is an episode we don't always do. We don't do it typically, but there comes a time in the season where we got to do an MLB breakdown. And here we are, halfway mark. We got the home run derby tonight. You guys might be listening to this episode while watching the home run derby. Then we have MLB game tomorrow, all that fun stuff. And we kind of get into the part of the season, Cage, where games start to matter. And that's exciting. And there's nobody that knows baseball that I know better than Cage. So without further ado, I want to welcome you guys back to another episode of Lucas, Tigers, and Bronze. Oh, my. Cage, I don't know if you saw this. Stephen A. Smith had some controversial things to say today about Shohei Ohtani. And I think they were kind of stupid, but you'll tell me what you think. He said, as great as Shohei is, as Ohtani is, it's not good for baseball to make him the poster child of the sport because he can't speak English well. Any take on that?
Kind of stupid. Why is he picking out Ohtani? There's a lot of people who don't speak English that well in baseball. Why is he picking on him? No, that's kind of stupid. I mean, come on. He speaks the language of talent. He speaks the language of home runs and strikeouts. I guess I understand what he's saying, but what makes basketball great is it's a global sport, right? And what makes baseball not is it really doesn't have the global appeal that something like basketball does. And it's silly. We've had people come in from Japan who had translators. I remember so many people, Ichiro for a little while, and then he learned, Hideki Matsui. I remember he had an interpreter as well. And I just think it's silly. I mean, it's an interesting headline, and I think that's dumb. Look, come on. What's great about Ohtani is he's doing something that's never been done. I'll talk about Ohtani, by the way, in many different ways. It's a good jump-off point because I do want to spend a couple of minutes, not too much, talking about the home run derby, even though people are going to probably be listening to this as they watch it, or maybe by the time you listen to this, it'll be over. Ohtani's favored. He's like the favorite to win the derby. You remember how they do this, right? It's like a bracket. There's 8, and it's like 1 versus 8. He could get knocked out in the first round. He has a horrible 8 draw. I mean, there are guys in this like Matt Olson and Trey Mancini. Juan Soto is the 8th seed, and he's paired up against Shohei Ohtani in the first round. Juan Soto is plus 800. So is like Sally Perez, Trevor Story was plus 900, Trey Mancini plus 1,200 odds. And they've matched up Soto and Ohtani right there in round 1. So he might not even get out of, the first round, right? If you're a betting person, there's a couple of cool stories here. One of them being Trevor Story, who is playing, it's Trevor Story is a Colorado guy, right? I mean, that's the course is the home field. Hometown players get extra juice, right? You always seem to see kind of like the hometown players putting on a show for the crowd. He obviously knows how to hit there better than anybody else. Joey Gallo might be the biggest hurdle he has. That's right there, in first round. That's a 2 versus 7 matchup. And Gallo is the second favorite behind Ohtani, even ahead of Pete Alonso, who we all know can mash. But it's pretty funny. Overall winner, if I have to pick one, I'm going to go with Gallo. But he's plus 450. That Trevor Story, that's a good pay, right? Because he's plus 900 and he's home. Another long shot value, Trey Mancini. You want like a feel-good story, right, from Baltimore? I mean, he missed last season with cancer. Said he wanted to do the event, to show people that there's life after a cancer diagnosis and after chemotherapy. I mean, how do you not root for a guy like that, right? So, it's interesting stuff. And if you're going crazy with the betting, and you don't want to bet favorites, I mean, I'm trying to stay away from chalk for you on these things. The longest home run is something you can bet. And I think Ohtani is going to hit one into the upper deck in right field. Alonso at plus 450 is not horrible value, but you get Ohtani plus 400. The over-under, they have an over-under on distance. Distance of the longest home run. It's 510 and a half feet. Isn't that crazy? Right? So
is this in Colorado?
It's in Colorado. And the rumor mill is if you remember when Colorado, when they first did the stuff, they had the humidor there for the balls. Well, rumor mill is the home run balls are going to get the humidor treatment, and it's already hot and sunny, and it's not going to be dark. So I'm telling you, that 510.5 feet home run, that's probably going to get broken by more than one person. I bet you Ohtani breaks it. Gallo might break it. You might get one from Alonso out there. If you want to bet on the finals, I think you could see a Gallo Ohtani, which is pretty funny because I say go away from chalk, and that's the 1 and 2 seeds. And I think if you get the finals right, finals outcome, Gallo over Ohtani, you can get plus 1,000. It's pretty nice. But I just think it's funny because it's in Colorado, like that. You could really see some fireworks, right? On the home run contest, and you got Ohtani who is doing his thing this year. And can I stick with Ohtani? Right, I want to do like a recap, but I don't want to give like every team. If you guys listen to our MLB preview, just real quick, our MLB preview in there, if you go back and listen, I said that the Yankees were going to disappoint, and I said that the Giants were going to be great. Nobody in the world picked the Giants to be where they are right now, basically atop the division out there, playing just as well, if not better than the Padres and the Dodgers are. Coming into the season, when I made that play and said, keep your eye on the Giants out in the NL West, I looked at Baseball Prospectus. They had a 3.3% chance of the Giants making the playoffs. Sportsline had an 8.7% chance of the Giants making the playoffs. That's up to now. Sportsline, 97.4% chance of them making the playoffs. So, they've definitely overperformed. Their pitchers are doing great. I mean, Gausman's been an ace since he came over there. They're getting, I think Posey just went on the DL for a little while, but, he'll probably be back right after the break. Brandon Crawford, Brandon Belt, Evan Longoria before his injury and Belt's injury. I mean, basically they were squeezing as much as they can out of there. Why I'm a little nervous is you're starting to see the age creep in now as we get to the second half of the season. They are the oldest group of position players in the majors, and now you're starting to see some of those injuries creep in, and now make it tougher for them to keep it up.
Is that the Giants or the A's?
That's the Giants. The Giants.
Would you take a swing at 1,600 plus 1,600 odds, 16-1 odds for them to win the World Series?
Definitely. They're playing as a team. I mean, you've seen teams do crazier things. The only thing they got working against them is the Giants win in the even years. Giants won the World Series even. Remember they did like 2010, 2012.
Mm-hmm.
They just every other year they were great. And every year
but 2020 was canceled, so this is this
so
is
maybe
kind of a
yeah. I mean, like Euro 2020 champs, right? Or weren't crowned until 2021, right? So
Cage, I'll tell you the best bet I've ever had in my life was I took a futures play on baseball. And futures plays in baseball are really fun because if you hit, and you get amazing odds. I picked the Giants to make the World Series, and I picked the Royals to make the World Series. And I got both at 13, 14 to 1. What was that in 20? Was it 2015, 2014?
And you hit it?
Nothing. You're not going to congratulate me.
No,
nothing.
Congratulations. I mean, the baseball bets you get good odds because just anything can happen. But look at you.
Picking both winners.
It's amazing. Very difficult. Very difficult to do.
Cage struggles to compliment me.
So here's the thing, guys, out there in Luca Nation. Don't think ill of me. I know that my partner in crime over here has a weakness for gambling, and I don't want to go down the road of complimenting his plays because we'll hang up and then I'll get a call later tonight and it'll be like, "Hey, I just put $1,000 on Joey Gallo in the home run derby." I don't want you sliding back into that, man. You're doing good.
I just sold the shirt on the back of on my back. And I'm sleeping in the middle of Tulum. Come help me. Come save me.
That's right. I don't have 80 pesos to bribe the local authorities to get me out of this bicycle ticket. Exactly. So I get it. All right. So there's my my look back. The Yankees, I said we're going to underachieve, and they most definitely have. And it's weird because their pitching has not been horrible, right? But basically, they've played at like an 83, 84 game, a win pace the whole time. That's not gonna do it. I mean, they really would have to go on a tear now just to go win 90 games, which is what you probably need to sniff the playoffs, get in a wild card, and that kind of stuff because we don't have the expanded playoff garbage that we had last year. We may have that. Wild card's interesting. This year we have labor disputes. Oh, fun stuff. We got to talk about that at some point in time. The labor agreement is up in December, and where the sides are farther away than they have been since the '94 strike. And baseball is already kind of ruining itself. You definitely don't need that. If I were talking about a team to look forward to, while they are, still behind a little bit, I talked about George Springer coming back healthy. The Blue Jays, man, the Blue Jays look good. Their bullpen's a little bit weak. They don't really exactly have a real ace pitcher, but if I were looking for teams to ride with as a better or cards, them and the Dodgers, only because the Dodgers kind of yawned their way through the first half of the season, and you expect them to really pick it up and move forward. If I were picking on somebody to fade, like somebody to bet against who was doing well in the first half, besides the potential for an injury with the Giants, Cleveland. I mean, Cleveland had an amazing first half, and it's on the back of nothing. I mean, Jose Ramirez and Franmil Reyes, other than those two guys, the lineup is real weak. And the pitching hasn't exactly been great. Bieber got hurt. Savali is hurt. Plezak's hurt. I mean, if everybody's hurt, who's going to win the games for you? So it's a little bit difficult. So if you go back, we were kind of on point with our predictions. So I decided for our MLB play here today, I wanted to give you bold predictions. You know what I mean? Like one's maybe they come true, maybe they don't come true. Who the heck knows? So how about a couple of them? You ready? Number one, the Mets. Edwin Diaz, if you're a fantasy player, Edwin Diaz is going to finish as the save leader in the majors. I think he's going to go on a tear in the second half, right? I think he's in ninth place right now with 18 saves, but I think he's going to be. I think he was horrible last year. He came over in that Cano trade, and people were like, "Oh my God, that's okay. We don't really want Robbie Cano," but Edwin Diaz the year before when he played for Seattle, he had 50 saves. So people are like, all right, it's worth it. We don't really have to pay Diaz. He's great. We get a top line closer. And he came over and he couldn't close. And his ERA is it's 2.4 right now. And his strikeout percentage, it's 33%, which is, bad for his career. I think basically what we're seeing is even though he has these 18 saves and he's in the top 10, he hasn't really been his best. And I think you're going to see, I think you're going to see him turn around. And the Mets, their offense, it's like they build this team on purpose. They never blow anyone out, right? So this is more of a play on he's good, but also the Mets don't score a lot more runs than the other team. You see it every time DeGrom goes out there. So I think they're going to have a lot of close games, a lot of close wins. Let's see. Other predictions. I'll do a couple of these bold predictions. So DeGrom is amazing. He has been great. A little nagging injury here, and I'm sure he'll be fine to start the season off, after the All-Star break. But lost in DeGrom's greatness is one of his old pitching contemporary teammates is having a great season with his new-ish team. Zach Wheeler, not Noah Syndergaard, not Matt Harvey, the Dark Knight. You're in your backyard in Philly there. Zach Wheeler, I think he's going to, look, what DeGrom's doing is fantastic. I think Zach Wheeler could give DeGrom a run for that NL Cy Young. You look at his numbers, 2.26 ERA with a .97 whip. The batting average against on balls in play is the batting average of ball in plays is 280 something. So he's, it's justified. He hasn't been getting lucky, and his strikeout to walk ratio is over 25%. His velocity's up. He's got two good breaking pitches. And he's pitched real well, and I don't see a reason why that should stop. If you're looking for another pitcher, Carlos Carrasco looks pretty good as well. If he's healthy, also K through 9. So you're looking at this. I definitely researched the Mets, and they'd love to have Zach Wheeler back. Minnesota Twins, if you're a fantasy player, Buxton comes back and is healthy, and from August on, I think you're going to see the Twins have 3 of the top, let's call it 30. Fantasy outfielders from post All-Star break to the end of the season when they're all playing between Alex Kirilloff and Max Kepler and Byron Buxton. If they stay healthy, those are guys you can definitely look at for fantasy. But here's the biggest prediction of all. You ready for this? All right. And you started off with this. I might as well end my MLB kind of like bold prediction, right?
Angels win the World Series. Mike Trout finally gets his World Series ring.
Now,
Angels missed the playoffs.
I have to start. It is in the Angels. It is definitely the Angels. I have to start off by saying that I don't want this prediction to come true. So it's always fun when you make those predictions that you don't want it to come true. It's not a prediction I'm rooting for. It's just a prediction that I think is going to happen. So that's a tough one to make, right? Because basically what I'm saying is that all the research, all the evidence that I found points to this prediction happening, even though my heart doesn't want it to, because as a fan of the game, I don't want it to happen. But you ready? Love the entertainment he's bringing. Love how amazing it is. Can't wait to root for him tonight. Don't care how much English he speaks. But Shohei Ohtani will hit no more than 15 home runs following the All-Star break. Okay.
How many does he have now?
I think he's at 33 home runs now. So no more than 15. Obviously,
his performance will be cut in half for the second half of the season.
So
basically.
A couple things. One, right? He's going to give away a couple of at-bats so that he can gain some extra rest. He's still pitching. He's still trying to do the two-way thing, right? He's probably not going to be, chasing, 70 home runs for Barry Bonds. It's an amazing season what he's doing. But really what this comes down to is just history, right? Since 2000, there have been 15 players who had at least 30 home runs prior to the All-Star break. That's not me, is it? Oh, okay. So 15 players who hit at least 30 home runs prior to the All-Star break. 8 times that player has failed to eclipse 15 home runs in the second half. So again, 15 times people have had 30 or more home runs. The majority of the time, those people do not hit more than 15 home runs. And the average of all 15 of them, 15.8 home runs after the break. That's the average of those sluggers who have done it. So my bet, no more than 15 home runs in the second half. It's sad, but remember, we talk about cards here. So what's the if you buy into what I'm telling you and you believe in what has historically happened, you said this the other day when we talked about Ohtani's cards. Is it now a time to sell? Well, history would tell you that if Ohtani follows the path that the majority of sluggers who have hit 30 or more home runs at the All-Star break takes, he's going to disappoint. If you're expecting him to hit another 30 and have 60 home runs and also have a decent arm and pitch and have good pitching numbers, I think you're probably going to be disappointed. And we've seen the way momentum in our hobby works. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. Conor McGregor did not win in the first round the other night, guys. He definitely did not. But
was that your prediction?
Yeah. I did a cardboard relevant with Cage. I said he's going to come out crazy because he's got to set up his boxing matches. He's got to win a title next time out. And, that first round was crazy. He was getting worked over by Dustin. But I mean, look, he even had a submission attempt. I would never have predicted that. I mean, the odds of Conor winning in the first round by submission were probably astronomical. But and it ended in a crazy stoppage with him breaking his ankle. So it happens. But I have been wrong. I don't think I'm going to be wrong here. And I think it's if he has the kind of second half that most people have after this type of a first half, his cards are going to go down in value. So if you're holding them, I'm not saying dump them all. I'm not saying, get out of them. But if you're holding a few, you might want to think about hedging against the disappointing second half, especially tonight. Is going to provide, and tomorrow is going to provide a nice, main stage platform for him. He's going to be in the home run competition. If he happens to win that, if he happens to play well in the All-Star game, it might be a good time. His cards might get that one final, pump up, and it might be a good time to think about, taking a little bit of that.
It's a great time to sell into strength.
Yep.
And also, let's say you have 10 Ohtani cards, whatever they are, sell 5, and have 5 that you own and are in profit for. I think that's a nice mix.
Yeah, man.
Cage.
I mean, I'd love to say the Yankees are going to turn it on and win 95 games, but I don't see them playing, to win 95.
I got to ask you something.
Please, go shoot.
Everyone that's not named someone hates the Astros. Everyone. But somehow they keep winning and winning and winning.
So I don't hate the Astros. I think the Astros are a good team.
What's good about them?
You have to
break this down.
You have to tip.
They lost their manager. They lost Garrett Cole. They lost Springer, and somehow they still keep winning. How?
Well, not just that. I mean, Bregman's not really playing, and Correa's not really playing. I mean, Altuve, you have to give the guy some credit. He plays like he's 10 feet tall. You know what I mean? He former MVP. He comes up huge in huge spots. He just does, right? And any Yankee fan will tell you he's not the person you want at the plate with the go-ahead, run. He's just not. Because he finds a way to put the ball out of the park, and he did it the other night against the Yankees. You know what I find funny about this, and you took it one way, I'll take it another. Aaron Judge, I made that joke, about the whole my jersey, it's just cold in here, and he was giving him a hard time. You don't need to poke the bear, right? Go out there and win. You don't need to poke the bear, because he's now done that a couple of times, and it always backfired. He was walking behind, I think it was the Red Sox, locker room playing, New York with his, with the boom box. And, just, talk with your bat. You know what I mean? Do your talking out on the field and act like you've been there before. I mean, Aaron Judge has been on the Yankees now. I think he came up in 17, right? He's like fifth season playing ball, 18, right. 19. He hasn't won anything. He hasn't
stayed on the field. Let's even talk about individual accomplishments. Just stay on the field before you could go out there and talk trash.
Yep.
You got to focus on your game, your performance. And if your performance is good, then go and talk trash.
Yeah. So, the Astros, look, I don't know what they're going to do this year, but they seem to come up big in big spots, where it matters. And it's an interesting thing. It really is. It is, that comeback, what it'll tell you, the Yankees, you have to be good to take 4-run leads into the ninth, but in the last month, they've lost twice on 4-run leads going into the ninth. They've lost twice, which I think has only happened 3 other times in the history of baseball. That's monumental collapse. And part of that is the fact that Chapman, although he's an all-star, has just looked bad. This last game, they didn't even bring Chapman in. Chapman didn't even get a chance. It was all of Chad Green. So, I don't know. This season, it's been a little crazy. It's been a little crazy, but it's been a little nuts. I have no real hope that the Yankees do much in their division. Can they squeeze out maybe a wild card? Maybe. They'd really have to go on a heck of a pace.
All right. Well, I guess what everyone wants to know. Let's go Cy Young in both divisions. Who's going to win?
So DeGrom is definitely going to win in the National League. American League, I don't know. There's a lot of injuries in the American League. I don't know who I would give it to in the American League. I think that remains to be seen. With the second half. You know what I mean? I don't even know who the favorite is right now.
Okay, then let's go. Go ahead.
Let's take a look. Let's take a look what they're saying. The odds have bounced all over the place. They're just pretty crazy, right?
Is there a world where
Garrett Cole was the favorite for a little while? He helped himself in his last at bat. His last one, maybe Cole. Maybe Garrett Cole. Just who I don't know who else is in there. The other names they have are like Rodon and Lance Lynn. I guess this is Cole's. See, what's funny about it is I would never have thought that because I've watched Cole, and all I see out of him is he's not the pitcher I thought we were getting for the hundreds of millions of dollars we pay. He's not been the most dominant self. And every headline and every talking head in sports radio is like, wow, Garrett Cole is not who we thought he was going to be. And yet he appears to be the odds-on favorite for American League Cy Young. So I guess Cole. I guess you got to go with Cole.
Vlad Guerrero. He's leading in just about every single category when it comes to hitting. Will he be the AL MVP?
He's definitely in the running, and there's not that many. There's not that many other people who look to be, even close right now. It's him and Ohtani, obviously. Let's not forget what Ohtani's doing. I think right now Ohtani's got to be the favorite, but it is legit just a two-person race, right? That has to be it. I would say it was pretty even maybe a week or two ago. Vladdy's numbers they've been fine, but they've kind of tailed off a little bit. And Shohei's just continuing to hit home runs, right? You know, he's the first in baseball to reach 30 home runs. He's staying healthy. I don't know that he can do this for many seasons, but if he does what he's doing now for a whole season, he's your walk away, you know, AL MVP. I mean, it's basically a two horse race. I don't even think anybody else is even in like going to get any kind of votes. I mean, we're talking about like maybe Xander Bogaerts. I mean, JD Martinez. I mean, they're probably all like plus 4,000. You know, they're probably just crazy odds. At least you got a couple people in the NL. You know, the sad part is that I think Ronald Acuna might have been the favorite on that,
Right.
and clearly he is not now, which opens it up for Tatis. And maybe even DeGrom, you know, he's kind of got, you know, a little injury here and stuff like that. But what DeGrom was doing, you could make an argument that DeGrom should win the MVP there. So those are, you know, DeGrom, Tatis. Those are the ones that I would say right now for NL MVP. And don't look now behind those. You know who I think comes in third, because now Acuna is not going to because of his injury. Behind DeGrom and Tatis. My boy Jesse Winker. I talked about him. Give him as a play. Jesse Winker. Don't sleep on my man Jesse Winker, guys.
Let's talk real quick standings. So 3 teams in the NL West could get in. We have the Giants, who are leading the division, and 2 wild cards.
Yep.
Dodgers, Padres.
Yes, I expect those
that?
three. One will win the division, and the other 2 will be the wild card. If it ended right now, funny that as good as they are, maybe the 2 best teams in baseball would have an elimination game, wild card game, which this might be the end of that, by the way. With the new bargaining agreement, they may get rid of that. You may not have that. They may have an expanded playoffs without that. You know, 1 game, you know, you're in. That's real close. It's real bunched up at the top. I think the Giants are only 1 win ahead of the Dodgers.
Yep.
I think they're like 2 games total because it's 1 in the win and 3 in the loss column. So, you know, that could flip flop pretty quickly. But I mean, it's amazing what the Giants have done to this point. But yeah, those 3 teams will make the playoffs just because if you look at it, you know, the Reds are decent. The NL East is only going to have 1 team. We've been talking about that since the beginning. That's like the 500 division, right? There's only 1 team, the Mets, that are over 500. You know, the Phillies are at 500. The Braves are now a game below. Everybody is below 500. Same thing in the NL Central. It's the Brewers and the Reds. The Reds don't have what it takes to catch the Dodgers or the Padres or even the Giants.
Yep.
And, you know, the wild card is just, you're going to get those 3 teams out from the NL West. That's just, you know, maybe a little less exciting than people were hoping, but you know, I think that's what you're looking at. The A's and the Rays right now. You got the Red Sox and the Rays. You know, the AL East, Red Sox and the Rays. Man, I mean, you got to give the Rays credit. I talked about them in the MLB preview. Like, it doesn't matter who they have. You know, you can't really name all of their players. They trade away their arms. They trade away their big guys. It just doesn't make a difference. Their farm system just seems to keep replenishing and keep putting new players in there, and every year they're at the top of the division. They're making the playoffs. You know, they're good. I said the Giants and the Red Sox were my 2 surprise teams, my 2 teams that are supposed to be bad and overperform, and the 2 best teams right now, basically. I mean, they both look great. You know, the Indians right now are playing slightly above 500. I think they continue to fade, and really what you're looking at here is, you know, the Athletics and the Rays as your wild cards. I don't know if the Blue Jays or the Yankees have what it takes to catch either of those teams. I mean, they're pretty far back now. You're talking about, like, you know, being 6.5 back of the second wild card already. The Yankees are still plenty of games left to be played, but I mean, the teams, they've kind of separated themselves already. And you know, from what we've seen so far out of the Yankees, I wouldn't expect them to even make the playoffs, which, I mean, maybe that's the end of Aaron Boone. We'll see what happens at the trade deadline. If the Yankees, you know, if they go on a little bit of a skid here, they could be sellers at the trade deadline, which never happens. I mean, they probably never admit that, but if they lose, you know, if they were 5-5 in their last 10, if they go like 3-7 now, 2-8, if they have like a skid coming out of the All-Star break, they could. I mean, you could hear trade talk of Aroldis Chapman. You could hear trade talk of of some of their younger guys. Who knows? It could be very interesting. What else you got?
Give me 2 guys from the AL, 2 guys from the NL whose cards that you're looking at that you think are undervalued.
Whew. Okay, so if I have my deal here is I'm trying to go with all times. I'm trying to go with like GOATs. I'm trying to go with guys who could be the best out there, and just are not getting the play, right? So AL Trout, he's injured. Anytime he's injured, I try to buy his cards if you can get any kind of discount. In the NL, I like Mookie Betts, just because he's not being talked about in the MVP. He's having, for Mookie Betts, for any regular human, he's having a decent year. But for Mookie Betts, he's not. That Dodgers team is so close to being, the best in the West again. They're not that far behind the Giants. They're still winning games at a great clip. Bellinger is not performing, but they're going to turn it around. They're going to win. They're going to play meaningful games, and people will be looking at Mookie Betts again, potentially winning and adding to that, that trophy case. And right now, people aren't talking about him. They're talking about everybody else besides him. He's somebody to buy. So that's right off the bat. Trout, Betts, who I consider the top 2 players in the game. And right now, both can be bought at discounts for various reasons. Younger side, no one's talking about Juan Soto. And if you can get a discounted Juan Soto, go for it. Same thing with Acuna. Soto, just because he's not putting up the numbers that some of these other young guys are right now, and Acuna because of injury. Those are four names that I'd be looking at from a card perspective. The right card, I wouldn't be jumping on, high pop base, not numbered for any of them. But those are four different ways of playing. Two older guys, who have already cemented their legacy, and 2 younger guys who, all 4 of them I think you can buy at a discount. Fun stuff.
It's a great episode. It's boring because it's baseball, but other than that, I think it's jam-packed and valuable.
Well, it's a lot.
Just kidding. I'm a huge baseball guy, guys. Don't give me that. I love baseball. This is the best time of the year.
Are you going to try, speaking of baseball, you're going to try to get in on that Mickey Mantle now that it's the uncollectible? Now you to buy some fractional share Mickey Mantle now that it's trading at significantly less than what it sold for this past weekend.
It's getting steamed, Cage. It's
up
what's 30% today.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, you'd expect it to go up because, clearly it was trading at a significant discount to what the most recent comp was. This is what happens. One comp can really change, especially when a card like that, where, we're talking about a PSA 8 Mickey Mantle in 1952. So,
that's another show. Luca Nation will be back tomorrow with your regularly scheduled programming. There's a ton to talk about. We're going to have plays for you. PSA just announced they're going to be doing on-site grading, $250 for any card under 5,000, $600 for any card under 10,000. We'll give you your thoughts on that. We had an awesome weekend of shows. We had Spud Webb on Saturday. We had Coffee with Cage yesterday. One of the best Coffee with Cages from what people said.
That was a heck of an episode. Go back and listen to that one if you haven't listened to that one. Go back and listen to that one. That was pretty cool.
Any final words before we wrap?
No. Enjoy the festivities tonight. It has the potential to be a really cool, home run derby. The All-Star game is tomorrow. If you're a card person and you like baseball like me, I'm going to be watching. Not specific play. I'm going to be watching what baseball does. I'm going to be watching the videos. I'm watching the highlights. I'm going to be watching how they hype people up for this stuff. I'm going to be watching, what baseball does to try to sell their brand and move us forward. Because if you're investing in baseball cards, you're investing in baseball. You're investing in the MLB. Let's see what they do.
It's such a baseball play to have an All-Star game on a Tuesday. I think it's hilarious.
Pretty much. All right, guys. We love you. Thanks for listening.